It's been 1 year since mass graves were discovered in the Ukrainian city of Bucha. Now, certainly, there are allegations coming from the Ukrainian side saying that the Russians have perpetrated horrific war crimes in Bucha. What kind of role do you think the international community has to play here to make sure that those who perpetrated these alleged war crimes are brought to justice?
Well, first of all, Russian disinformation, among others, is denying what happened in Bucha. But Bucha has become a symbol of the Russian brutal aggression and war against Ukraine. And, one of the reasons why the West is so united and supportive of Ukraine in this war is the fact that people in the Western communities, in the Western world, have seen for themselves what Russian troops did in Bucha. And there is no denying. There is a months-long investigation conducted by the international community, which brought evidence who is behind the massacre and the killings. We know that it's the members or soldiers from the air assault regiment 234, and who was the commander of the regiment, Artyom Gorodilo. And when it happened, because Russia claims that Bucha tragedy and massacre was staged by Ukraine, which is a blatant lie. The satellite images from Massacre technologies have clearly shown that when the bodies in Bucha appeared and the victims and bodies on Yablunovska Street lying there, that happened when the Russian troops were there on the 18th and 19th of March. So there is no denial. These perpetrators have to be brought to justice, and the international community will not stop before they appear in front of the court.
Right, and Mr. Ambassador, about 2 months ago, I was in Bucha myself, covering the aftermath of Russia's occupation of that region. I spoke to many locals in that region, and most of them told me that the memories of the alleged massacre are still very fresh in their minds. And that made me think, how can something like this, something as horrific as a massacre, happen in 2022? Like, we're living in the 21st century right now. So as an ambassador, as a diplomat, did this news take you by surprise when you heard that so many people have been found dead? There are mass graves discovered in that region, and children have been killed in that region?
Well, absolutely. It's something unimaginable. And, after the collapse of the Soviet bloc since 1989, we tried to have a dialogue with Russia. We created platforms of cooperation, and very intense cooperation, in fact. Both NATO created their own bodies with Russia and the European Union. We benefited from the so-called peace dividend, which is now, when you think that the whole Western community has problems in supplying ammunition to Ukraine, with all understanding that it's a terrible, tragic war, but it's a war of a limited, when you look at it geographically, limited place. And the whole world, the democratic world, cannot immediately support Ukraine. It shows you in what reality we have been living since the end of the Cold War. It was a world that we idealized. We couldn't imagine something like Bucha at all. And the question arises: why? How it's possible? Is it who is to blame? Of course, the direct perpetrators are to blame, and hopefully they will be brought to justice and sentenced for what they did. But also the Russian authorities, the Kremlin, which created this horrible machinery.
All right. Thank you very much, Ambassador Tomasz Chlon, for talking to us here on TRT World. Really appreciate your taking out the time, sir.